Okay, in this video we're going to talk about tuples or tuples, depending on how you want to pronounce it, I guess. A tuple is very much like a list, okay? The big difference is lists are mutable, meaning I can change them, I can do different things with them. Tuples, you cannot. They are immutable. You cannot change them in place, okay? So, for example, if we had a list, okay, so my list is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? I can do my list 3, I want to change it to a 5, for example, okay? So if I look at my list, right, I'm changing index value 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to change it to a 5. Okay? We can do my list.append. Right? I'm going to append a 10 to it. Okay? So my list, and there's a 10. Right? And we can do inserts and other things like that we learned about with lists. Tuples, you can't do that. All right? So the first thing you're going to know about a tuple or a tuple is that you create them with parentheses. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right? Now, I can do everything to a tuple that I can do to a list except for modify it, meaning I can't, for example, my tuple 3. I want to change it to a 5. Okay? You can't do that. It does not support item assignment. My tuple dot append. Okay? Again, I can't add to it. Tuples are not mutable. They are immutable. You can't change them in place. Okay? If you want to change a tuple, you have to first convert it to a list and then convert it back. All right. Now, we know that we used to create lists. A blank list is just the left and right brackets. My tuple is just left and right parentheses. Okay. I can create a list with one value. I can create a tuple with one value. Oops. Sorry, should be my tuple is equal to. Okay? So this creates a tuple with one value. Okay, or one element. So you can do all kinds of different things. Now you can concatenate tuples into another tuple. Again, you can do the asterisk operator with a tuple. So by and large, you can do everything to a tuple that you can do to a list except for modify it in place. Like I said, I can't do an append, I can't do a modification of this, but let's say I do have a tuple. So my tuple is going to be equal to, let's make it equal to A, B, and C. Okay? Now, we already figured out that I can't do this. 0 equals D. Okay? But if I want to do that, what I would do is create a new tuple, my mod, or better yet, I'm going to create a list. So I'm going to say my tuple, my tuple mod is equal to list of my tuple. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to convert my tuple into a list. So if I look at my tuple mod now, it's a list. So then I can say my tuple mod 0 is equal to a D. Okay? So if I look at my tuple mod now, There's the D. And then I just convert, so I'll go my tuple is now equal to tuple my tuple mod. And now if I look at my tuple, now it's back. Okay? So while you can't modify a tuple in place, there's a roundabout way to do this. And you'll find when we get to talking about strings, we can do something very similar with a string where we can, pull the string apart, modify it, and then put the string back together. Essentially, that's what we're doing here. We're pulling it apart, changing it, and then put it back together. Okay? So the big thing to remember with tuples, they are in a mutable sequence, immutable, they can't be changed in place, so you can't do an append or an add or remove, okay? They work just like lists in that you can slice them, you can look at the index values, you can do different things like that, minimum, maximum, length, everything, just can't modify them in place. If you want to modify them, you have to convert them to a list and then convert them back. So the big question that people always tell me or they ask me is to say, Paul, so what's the point? Why should I have something that I can't change? Well, it processes faster. Okay, so they're good choices if you process a lot of data. So they're very good about that. Because you can't change the content, it's really good to store data because you can't modify it without purpose. Okay, there's no accidental way to modify a tuple, so it makes it nice that way. Okay, and believe it or not, there are certain operations that you'll come to find out later that require a tuple. You can't give them a list. You have to give them a tuple in order for it to work. Okay? So that really is the discussion about tuples. Yes, there's a much broader conversation you can have about them, but for simplicity's sake and where we're at, tuples, this is what you need to know. All right? If you have questions about tuples, feel free to contact me. If not, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, good evening.